Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Today's video is going to be me telling you a story. Hopefully, I've literally taken probably 100 takes. Like, serious note guys, I've taken probably 100 takes of me attempting to tell you this story about a field op. It's funny because I've gone through the same line about 100 times, but I believe that this is the one. This is the time I will finally be able to tell you the story. And it's probably going to be like a multiple part series just because it is, after the amount of takes I've taken, it is a long story. So I'm going to start this one off with the worst hike I have ever had. Sort of. I mean, it's like the hottest hike that I've ever had, which is 29 Palms, California. Surprise, surprise. I think we all knew it was coming. So I'm a Marine infantryman. Like what we do is we hike. And to keep this short and simple, basically, we were ready to go to a field op. We got everything ready, all our gear and stuff. And yeah, so they asked us, like, oh, who wants to be the assistant driver for the medical Humvee for this hike, this 10-mile hike to the field, which, by the way, was during midday. It was like 10 a.m., which is enough to be 110 degrees by that point in mid-July in 29 Palms. And we were like, oh, I want to be it. And then he was like, all right, Weatherhold, lucky you get to do it. I was like, yes. So I got to be the medical Humvee driver. So instead of hiking, I'll be riding, or assistant driver. So I'll be riding in the Humvee, assisting medical stuff. So kind of my main job was just to pass around water and stuff. And when we were actually down at the company office refilling all the water jugs, like 20 of them, we started driving back to where all the Marines were already staged and stuff for the hike. We started driving back, and nobody was there. We were like, did they just leave? Like, did they actually just leave without us? And yeah, sure enough, we get on the radio, and they're like, yeah, we're about a mile down towards the field. We're like, oh shoot. So we start driving down to the route, and when we get there, it's actually a pretty bad thing. Everybody was everybody was like sweaty beyond belief. If I could see, part of the reason I haven't been able to go and bring out a video in the past 4 days is because I can't really describe how hot it was. It was 110 degrees, and everybody was covered in sweat. Like, their camis were soaked. Like, this thick sweater I have on, imagine they're all wearing something like this, and they all have their pack, and their flak, and their Kevlar, and their rifle, and a machine gun, and a mortar, and, all these things. They're hiking forward, and they're all covered in sweat. This was covered in sweat. And, yeah, so we get to there, and then we're in the middle. They're all in a column, and they're just, like, hiking forward as fast as they can to the field. And there's already all the short guys, like I am, because I'm a short guy. All the short guys were in the back already, and it's only been a mile. And they were all just like huffing and puffing, like, oh my god, this sucks, dude. We're like, come on, you can do it. And they weren't able to do it. So like before even the first 3 mile, like every 3 miles you take a break. Before that first break, we had 5 people drop out, which means like they literally can't go on. Like, their legs seize up and they fall to the ground. They're like, oh, I've been in that position so many times. And we already had 5 guys, which were the smallest guys, coincidentally. And, I go up to them. So my job is to jump out of the Humvee while the driver's, like, making sure, he's, like, coordinating where everything is and stuff. The Humvee, because he's the driver. So I jump out of the next to him or whatever. And I run over to the guys who are already down, like all the down guys. I take off their pack, I take off their flak and their Kevlar and stuff. I grab that shit, put it in like one arm, and then, I'm like carrying it like this. I give the canteen to the guy who's on the ground, and I'm like, hey, like, keep up with your rifle. You got this, dude. Like, hey, I don't blame you. And I was telling him, because like even just a mile through, this is like unheard of in my battalion. Like, we hike a lot, and we're used to hiking. So I guess this is the only good way to describe how hot it was. We already had 5 people drop out in just a mile, so yeah. So I end up taking all that shit, and I run back to the Humvee, and I throw it in the back, and I have to like toss it up there because it's, it's got this like big hatch, and I do that for all 5 of them, and then it ends up where the rest of the company reaches up to, they rendezvous 3 miles later into a single spot. And by the time we get up there, and by the time the rest of those 5 guys reach them, because they had just been laying there for a while, just like, oh, just almost passed out. By the time they reach up there, everybody's just like it's like a war scene. It's pretty traumatizing. What happens next? You'll know why it's traumatizing later, but like it's pretty traumatizing seeing all your buddies just like completely out of it, and they're just like laying there with their rifles and just like, oh, just like with their packs on and stuff, and they're just like being baked in the 110. It was actually 114 degrees. I remember that number. Crazy. It's in the middle of the desert, 29 Palms, obviously, and it's not a fun time. So everybody was just there. They're taking a 15-minute break. And so it's my job, once we reach up there, I jump out, I go to the back of the Humvee, and I take out as many water jugs as I can, 40-pound water jugs. And I take them out, throw them on the ground, take them out. I take out like 10 of them, and I distribute them to all the squads. So I'm running up and down the column, and I'm throwing them to everybody. And obviously, I'm not going to complain about that, even though it's like a greenhouse in the Humvee, just because it's glass and stuff. I'm not going to complain, because I'm not the one hiking. And that's one thing you're going to learn if you're in the Marines, or if you're planning to join or whatever. Or maybe you're just like here for the story, right? Like one thing you learn in the Marines is like not to complain if you don't have it that as hard as the other people. So like I don't have it as hard as them because I'm not hiking. So like I'm not going to complain about taking their packs and throwing them up and like giving them water jugs and stuff. If you do, you're in for pound town, dude. Like everybody will hate you. I end up, we end up passing all the water and stuff, and squads are just running to them and claiming them as for their squad and stuff. And it's because like they're actually dumping their canteens out and like their Camelbaks out and refilling them with the lukewarm to semi-hot water that I have in the back of my Humvee, because their Camelbaks and their canteens, the water's almost boiling. Like if you take a sip out of that shit, the first couple sips you take out of your Camelbak is in the hose of the Camelbak. So when you actually drink out of it, you have to spit it out real quick because it's boiling. Because it's been exposed to it's in a very long line and it's being exposed to the sun. It's almost boiling. So like you end up not being able to taste anything for the next 3 days. It's that hot. It's like drinking hot tea, right out of the boiler or whatever the tea. I'm not British, damn it. But anyway, it's that hot, and they start hiking again. So the 15 minutes gets called up, and they start hiking again, and just like that, another mile goes through, and now instead of just the short guys that are falling back, we got about, I'm not even kidding, half the company that's just spread out. So like half the company of 150 Marines is still up front and stuff with the company commander, who's insane. He's like, he's not insane. He's actually a really cool dude, but he's way too fast for us. But like half of the company, which like I have never seen fall out of a hike, were like strewn across behind the major unit by like a kilometer long line. And the company commander is not giving up. He's expecting us to pick them all up. But like I've already got, by this time now, I've got like 15 packs that I picked up off these people and throw them in the back. There's no room in the Humvee to fit everybody, and everybody's just like kind of marching forward, and they're totally out of it. Like they don't have enough water. They weren't hydrated enough. We were told that we were gonna get trucked out to the field instead of hiking. Before this whole thing, we were told we were getting trucked out, so like a lot of the people didn't hydrate the night before. So it's just a big old mess, and we were supposed to hike in the morning, not in midday. Now it's like 10, 11 a.m. It's crazy. So by the time that happens, now everybody's strewn across and everything. People are actually passing out. We got corpsmen, the medics. They're running to man, just trying to pick everybody up and like help them out, slap them out of it, some ice on them if they have any ice in their packs. Some of them don't have anything. Some of the corpsmen actually drop out too, and the corpsmen are working on the medics, and it's a big mess, guys. I know I'm smiling with it, but it's just like it's a terrible, shitty situation. And it's kind of traumatizing, and that's just how I deal with it. Can't imagine being in that hike. This was a particularly really awful one. And again, this is only the first story of this whole field op, so don't get your hopes up. But yeah, anyway, we get through, they get through the second portion of it. So now they're about 2/3 of the way through, but people are still strewn across. We've actually got a whole squad. I remember it was some squad in 3rd Platoon, and it was him, the squad leader, and the rest of his squad. He had them all consolidate to one location and wait for one of the guys who was way back there, because he was like, and this guy's like a 10-year vet of the Marine Corps. He's been through combat, been through some crazy stuff, and he's like, nope, we are not going a step further. This is bullshit. I can't believe he's making my squad almost die from this stuff. We're gonna wait for every squad member, and we're gonna wait right here because this is BS, and I don't blame them. So now by this point, I've got about 25 packs. Again, I'm breezing through like how much work this was. 25 packs in the back. I've got a corpsman in the back as well, trying to treat somebody on top of the packs. He's just like laying on top of the packs trying to treat somebody. It's a mess, guys. And so I was like, all right, you know what, driver, we got to go to the field site, like where we're gonna be doing the training. We got to drive all the way there, drop off all these 25 packs and the corpsmen and stuff, and like put a tarp over them or something, set up something so that we can go back and pick up some more packs. Because again, there's a whole 12-man squad just laying there. Everybody's giving up, so we end up doing that. I get over there and it's just me. I'm throwing these packs out. There's a pile of packs as tall as the Humvee. And, I get back in the Humvee, and I'm profusely sweating. All the sweat's going to my eyes. It's all salty and stuff. And, man, if you can just imagine that, it's crazy. Everything looks white, too, because there's no cloud coverage or anything. It's just sun beating down on sand, which is really reflective. So everything looks white. It's like beach sand everywhere. It's really weird. Yeah, so I get back in the Humvee, and then we start going towards the rest of the column. And, by that point, there isn't even a column. It's just a giant line of Marines on a, sand road that everybody's marching on. It's, it's just the middle of the desert. So we end up going down there to as many Marines as we can. And while we're going down the column, they're marching towards us, and we're driving towards them. They're all looking at us just with these eyes, like they need something. And it's, it's a sad thing to look at, because these are all my buddies. It was pretty shitty to go and see all them that distraught. Like, these are Marines, badass people, but they can't even the veterans of a long time are just looking at us as we're driving past, and they're like, I wish I was you. And I was like, man, it's just luck of the draw. A lot of times that's what happens with the Marines, just luck of the draw, or the military in general. So yeah, we end up going back there, and I actually, there's so many people down. Now it's about 3/4 of the company is now just strewn across, and they're they can't even move forward. There's some of them that are barely, literally going this fast, if you can imagine it. It's just totally dead. They just look like zombies, actual zombies. And basically we just stop in the middle of what we think is the middle or whatever. And I jump out, and I'm like, hey, Corpsman, you can get in the Humvee in my spot. And have the rest of your corpsmen work on the guys in the back of the Humvee, because we got a little spot back at the actual field site where you guys can go and treat the casualties and stuff. I'm gonna go and just stay here with the rest of the people and try and I just jump out with 2 jugs. I've got a rifle, a Kevlar, and my vest on, and just the Camelbak water and 2 jugs of water. I really don't have much, and it's just. They drive off with all the people in the back of the Humvee, all the corpsmen treating people, and I run to the closest squad of people that are just there, and I drop off a water jug, and I'm like, man, what's happening? Why do you guys stop? And that's when they told me yeah, we are not moving a step further. This is insane. I've never been through something like this, where the company commander just did not give a shit. So we are gonna stay here until you guys can pick us up. So. And then I ran to a different squad, dropped off some water. I went back to the other squad because that was my old squad leader. I trusted him and whatever. So I stood next to them, and I didn't even hike or anything. And I was just laying there, and the sweat is being evaporated off me now as I'm laying there, and I'm just I'm baking in the sun, and it's just it's a crazy feeling, just laying there for an hour with all your buddies, and everybody's silent. We're just how did I get in this mess? We're 4 hours into this field op, and this is what happens. And it ended up where all the Humvee, the medical driver, he keeps coming back, and yeah, he keeps just doing runs to the field place and then back, just picking Marines up and dropping them off and stuff. And this went on for a couple hours, and then by the time we were all there, I remember I got back in the medical Humvee. We went back to the actual main side base. We picked up some ice and stuff because we needed to treat some serious heat casualties. People were could die. We picked up some ice from some tank battalion. We got back, and we were just handing out ice and trying to treat people, and it was a crazy time. We're setting up tents, and it was yeah. Hopefully you can understand now why this was so difficult to go and talk about. I mean, it's not an easy thing. And basically, this was the start of the field op. Alright, well anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll talk to you guys in the next video, and yeah, I'll see you there.